Hello, everybody, and welcome into a post-Labor Day edition of the Computer America Show. Hope all of you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. We got a great show planned for you today. Of course, it's Gamer Tuesday with our gamer correspondent, Josh Boykin. We're going to be kind of all over the road when it comes to gaming software, gaming hardware, topics, and, of course, you, our listeners, here at Computer America. So sit back, relax, enjoy 2 hours of Computer America coming straight at you here, right here, at computeramerica.com.
1 minute until showtime.
And as she said, 1 minute to the beginning of the show. $20 seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at computeramerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And hopefully all of you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend and are fully relaxed, ready to engage the work environment again. And, of course, we're here again on our brand new time slot, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Of course, yesterday was a holiday, so we had a best of Computer America show. I think we broadcasted the one with Casio and Slimware Utilities was the one that played. Of course, but we are now back live, as we say, in our new time slot. We'd love to have you with us on our live show, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And it is Tuesday, and that means it is time for our Gamer Tuesday show. All about games, and more games, software, the hardware, everything to make your gaming experience enjoyable. We're going to be talking about, oh my goodness, Xbox versus PlayStation 4. We're going to talk about some of the new games. I know there was a little bit of a lull, just before the big blast, but we're here to talk about as much as we can when it comes to computer gaming. Now, if you have a question for us, we'd love to hear from you. When you are listening to us live, you can call us. Pick up the phone. 347 is the area code, 884-8881. That's 347-884-8881 to get you on and get you through. We also have, if you're radio shy, you don't want to go on the air, but you have a question for our guests or a comment about gaming today, we'd love to hear from you. Just go to any page on our website at computeramerica.com. Any page in the upper right-hand corner there, you'll see it says Submit a Question. Just click that, and you'll go to our question submission page, type in your question or comment or whatever, click the Submit button, and both Ben and I will immediately see your question, and we'll ask it. Or just read it if it's a comment or a suggestion. Just another way for you to interact in the show. Another great way for you to interact in the program is a live video stream. That's right. We are a radio talk show, but we also have live video streaming available here at computeramerica.com. Just go to our website at computeramerica.com. You'll see in the second entry on our pull-down menu, which appears on every page, it says Show Lounge. Just click that, and when you do, our live video stream will begin streaming to you automatically. That's right. So you can watch us. You can see myself. You can see Ben. You'll be able to see our guest, Josh Boykin. You'll see him as well. And also, Ben has the really cool technology to display game videos, movies, anything, websites in the background, so you can watch as well as interact with the program. It just really enriches and enhances your Computer America experience, but only when we're live. I mean, you can watch the archives of the show, certainly, and you can watch the live video streams as well, archived, time-shifted, but it's so much more fun when you do it live with us. And we're here now 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, and we invite you to join us here at Computer America. So that said, Ben, anything else you want to mention before we get started?
No. Of course, I just wanted to say, it is a new week, so of course, check us out on Stitcher and SoundCloud. They're our two newest places you can find Computer America. So there are links to that at Computer America, so you don't have to, jump through hoops to find it. And that's about it.
Okay. Well, while you join me on AIM, Josh, let's bring Josh Boykin. Now, Josh is he is our Computer America gamer correspondent, and we did that because he is a lifelong gamer. Has been a game journalist for over 6 years, and he's published in multiple forums and multiple sites, and he strives to make the world of gaming fun and exciting for the hardcore gamer and the new alike. He's currently an editor-at-large for popzera.com and a senior editor for GotGame.com. Hey, Josh, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay. How are you?
Did you have a nice Labor Day weekend?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Saw the family, did some traveling, spent a lot of Labor Day actually in the air. But you know me, I'm always on the road.
Yes, you are. You're just the traveling wonder. Yeah, you must have frequent flyer miles.
I recently achieved Delta Gold status. That doesn't mean anything except when you're on a plane. So I won't spend a whole lot of time bragging about it, because to most people it doesn't matter.
Well, again, Josh is and are you at a different location? Sometimes we talk to you, we never know where you are.
Yeah, I get that from my parents too. I'm currently in Portland, Oregon. So,
Portland, okay.
Yes, it's sunny. It rained a little bit.
So you're with all the weirdos.
Portland is a different place. I'll admit that. It does have kind of its own style, we can say. Especially being from the Midwest, sometimes I feel like I stick out like a sore thumb for not having, like, I don't own any flannel, So maybe I'll pick some up one of these days. But I do really like it out here. People are really nice. I've met some fantastic folks, and the food out here is great too.
Excellent. Well, what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to pick some topics and kind of start talking about them. And of course, if any one of our listeners has a question or comment on gaming or gaming technology, or they're thinking of getting a new keyboard or a game monitor, or what your opinions are for Destiny or whatever it might be, we're here to answer your questions when it comes to computer games. Just keeping it fun, keeping it interesting, and we're going to start off the topics with the PlayStation 4 versus the Xbox One revisited, because we've actually done it before, but and at the time the PlayStation 4 sort of dominated the space, and so we're going to start off with that, and you, Ben, kind of take it over there. So let's start off with the PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One, Josh.
Let's see. So actually, I brought this up as a topic because a friend of mine asked me just the other day. He says, what should I get, a PS4 or an Xbox One? And anybody who's been following the show for a while, or in just the various discussions we've had, should instinctively have known my answer. I thought I instinctively should know my answer as well. But over the past couple months, I was thinking about it, and I realized I'm not really sure which one to suggest right now. That was kind of an interesting time to come back to the PS4 Xbox One debate discussion. You got a couple months before the big sales are going to show up. Obviously, Black Friday is kind of the big brawl date for all the console creators. And if anybody's seen the South Park Black Friday trilogy, they'll understand just how much is Oh wait, maybe nobody is. I know people. It's just apparently nobody on the line. Though I won't go into great detail because it does involve some Game of Thrones spoilers. If you haven't seen the South Park Black Friday trilogy and you're into either Game of Thrones or gaming, you definitely want to check it out. But anyway.
I know Ben is a big South Park fan. I watch it from time to time, but I haven't seen that. Ben, have you seen what he's talking about yet? Have you watched it?
The Black Friday one. The only one that is like immediately jumping to mind is the new game sphere that Cartman travels through time and meets all the otters and everything.
So
like,
that one, the Okama Game Sphere one, I think that was like a knockoff on the GameCube or the PS3, something like that. That one, that was also a good one, but that was from a while back. Just a couple of years ago, they did a trilogy of episodes called the Black. It started with Black Friday, and then a song of I don't know what words I'm allowed to say on the air. A song of A and Fire, and and then Breasts and Dragons, essentially. So those were the three.
Oh no, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. It's before the Xbox One and the PS4 come out, and the kids in South Park are trying to decide which consoles they're going to buy. And so everybody just Cartman and Kyle both wanted to get Xbox Ones, but Stan decides that he wants to get Stan and I think. Is it Clyde? I don't know, but some of the other kids decide that they want PS4s. So the whole episode becomes this big. They all decide that they're basically playing Game of Thrones. So they're all like sharpening their cardboard swords, and like there's a whole bunch of drama and intrigue as Cartman attempts to manipulate the system. And in the meantime, Stan's dad decides that he's going to become a security guard at the mall because he wants to try and sneak into the Black Friday sales early, and he figures if he's a security guard, he'll be the first one at the door to get all the stuff. Yeah. Mixed into all of this plot is again this kind of like Game of Thrones-esque intrigue. The opener for the opening theme song for the second episode is a Game of Thrones riff, and they even feature obviously not the real George R.R. Martin, but George R.R. Martin makes an appearance as they try to determine what the ending to Game of Thrones is going to be.
Right.
So even as somebody who doesn't watch Game of Thrones, because I have been off the bus for since it started, it was absolutely hilarious, and even just getting some of the references that I've seen trending on Facebook from time to time made it a really awesome experience. But it also was cool because they made a lot of like actual. You have a lot of games or a lot of TV shows or movies that will try to make game references, and they're not accurate, or they're
they use keywords instead of actual concepts. So it's,
right, and they're usually outdated keywords and concepts.
Yeah.
And this one actually, I mean, like it's pretty evident they did their research. But of course, this was right before South Park Stick of Truth came out. So, of course, there are a couple self-deprecating jabs they take at their expense, too. So, it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it already. It's, 22 minutes times 3, so just over an hour, but totally worth it.
Oh, I bet. And, of course, that was that was a long way around saying that the discussion between PlayStation and Xbox, it's been debated on TV shows, it's been debated before here on the show, but I think oddly enough, as time goes on, maybe everyone loves an underdog, even if that underdog controls 90% of the world, or just people get tired of the top dog. But this whole conversation of PlayStation versus Xbox, it's not as clear cut as it was a year ago or even at release.
Well, it would be one thing if the top dog had done things to maintain its top dog position. And I think that we've kind of touched on this over a few episodes. Sony really took a giant lead in the console wars when, basically when they were able to show up at E3 2013, I want to say, and just bash Microsoft because Microsoft dug its own grave. The policies that they were planning on instituting for the Xbox One included some pretty intensive digital rights management that would have prevented people from taking their discs on one console and playing it on another console, loaning their games out to friends, selling them at retailers. They had their, the Kinect was required and the Kinect was always on. Just a lot of things that, regardless of how you feel about how it would have, quote unquote, improved the gaming space, you just stop doing these air quotes. Nobody on the radio can see them. But regardless of how you think it would have improved the game space, the fact of the matter is the consumers weren't interested. So for those of you who aren't too familiar, E3 every year before E3 starts on Tuesday. They have a big gamut of press conferences that they run the day before. And so Microsoft does their press conference first thing in the morning at like 9 o'clock. And then Sony's is the last one of the night. So generally, it was a classic case of wrong place, wrong time. Microsoft dropped all these policies along with their price announcement of, I believe it was $500 for the Xbox One. And everybody, I mean, I was there in the room, everybody just kind of looked around like, really? Like, you wanted to do this? And it was awkward. And then Sony was able to show up and say, our console is cheaper and it doesn't have the DRM you don't like, and we don't know what they're thinking. And of course, Sony walked away the quote-unquote winner of E3. So now we walk, a little bit in the future, and we see that Microsoft has done some serious deep discounting on their console. They've come up with a number of bundles with titles that people have been excited about. The big Black Friday and Christmas bundle was the Assassin's Creed Xbox One bundle that came with Assassin's Creed Unity and Assassin's Creed Black Flag. They've cut the price of the console itself. They've done a bunch of intensive marketing to really secure sort of a better space in the area. Plus, actually, we talked about this maybe a couple of episodes ago, but Rare Replay has turned out to be a really strong purchase, a really strong console exclusive for Xbox One. Bundles 30 games from all the way from the Spectrum ZX all the way up to the Xbox 360, legacy games like Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark, Conker's Bad Fur Day, Battletoads, and throws them all on a disc for $30, and you're only going to be able to get that on an Xbox One. So kind of the big question is, with Microsoft starting to take these steps that give their console a lot more viability going into this next holiday season, what is Sony doing to kind of maintain their front runner status? Because again, when my friend asked me which console to buy, I didn't know what to tell him, and that's the first time I've had that problem.
Really, that's significant. I mean, you're being the, you being the gamer editor at large and senior editor for GotGame.com. I mean, that for you to be in such a quandary, and you really know the industry, and people are coming to you for advice. That's sort of getting the question there. Which I guess,
well, being a gamer and a journalist, that puts you against yourself, because gamers, they want to pick sides. They want to pick, here's mine, here's what I like, here's what I think is the best, and bam, that's, and I will take this to my grave. And as gamers, that's part of the fun of it, is to draw your battle lines and then fight over it. But as a journalist, I'm sure you have to kind of step back and say, not here's why here's my line. It's, why is this my line? Why is this? Why? You have to question yourself. And I guess it's just this penchant for questioning yourself has, I guess, led you over the last couple months to question if PlayStation is still the top dog.
Well, and then here's another factor too. I mean, and I don't know if it's still a factor today, because it used to be when you whatever platform you had, you kind of stuck with it because you were invested in that platform. You had games that were ran on that platform, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Even though, let's say, you've had the Xbox since the day of its inception, and the last one you had was an Xbox 360, and now, but all the reasons why you would maintain the games doesn't necessarily hold true anymore, because there are so many more features now that to take advantage of, and I think gamers are finding themselves more in a quandary, and I guess they're going to be in that same quandary again come the holidays, not knowing exactly which one to get, because the old reason of, I've always had an Xbox One, I've always had a PlayStation, I'm just going to stay with it because I have all this stuff. doesn't really hold water anymore, does it?
Well, you know, the issue is kind of twofold. I hate to go back to that South Park episode, but it really is a great example. The whole reason that the conflict kicks off in the first place is because they're like, well, we can't pick both because we have to be able to play together. So the whole reason the war starts is because either everybody in town needs to be on an Xbox One or everybody in town needs to be on a PS4. And realistically, that's pretty much the deciding factor right now as to why you would pick one console over the other. Now, there are some various pieces of functionality that are exclusive to each console. But when it really comes down to it from a gamer's perspective, it's all about what am I going to be able to play with my friends. And if you've got an Xbox One and all your buddies have PS4s, you're kind of out of luck. I would say that the second part that kind of factors in is just this matter of trying to figure out what's most viable for the future. Right now, I mean, one of the things that used to be big, and they still are trying to fight over it, is the idea of console exclusives. That you have a particular franchise or a particular game that is exclusive to your console, and that's what ties people over. You'll see that with the Uncharted series, with Nathan Drake and the sort of Indiana Jones-esque gameplay. Those are games that are exclusive to PlayStation. The Gears of War franchise with Marcus Phoenix and the big burly bro dudes and stuff. You know, that stuff is only on Microsoft. So if you have a particular franchise, or Halo, Halo is exclusive to Microsoft. If you're loyal to a particular franchise, you've kind of made your decision. But so many games now are coming out cross-platform, and we have to remember that PC is becoming an increasingly large player in the space as well, with somewhat cheaper games, more frequent sales, a broader catalog. PC is going to end with Steam. We'll talk about this a little bit later. But Steam and other PC platforms trying to push their way into that living room space. It's becoming harder to make that automatic discussion between do I get a PS4 or an Xbox One. And I'm sorry we've excluded Nintendo, but
yeah, but what isn't Microsoft kind of capitalizing the fact that they're on millions of PCs and with the advent of Windows 10, they're making it available so you can take the content of your Xbox One and display it in Windows 10. So that's got to be a huge boost for the Xbox platform, is it not?
If/when it works. So I mean, anybody can make a promise. The question is going to be, when is that technology going to be fully viable? Everybody right now is kind of working on this streaming technology. When you're running your game in place A and you're playing it in place B. PC is really working on that right now, where you play a game from your laptop or from your desktop and then stream it via LAN over to your TV. Windows 10 offers the same functionality or a similar functionality with Xbox One, where you're able to stream your Xbox One games over to your laptop, to your desktop, what have you. Mm-hmm. But Windows 10 is still in beta, still a little buggy, and it's going to take some time to really flesh out how well that functionality will work. Now, I do believe that once they get it right, it does have a really big potential to affect the game space, because now you've got Rocket League, which we talked about last week, is a good example.
Right.
Rocket League has PC players and console players playing in the same servers, which is something we've wanted for a really long time, and kind of starts some of those wars we were talking about, whether PC is better or console is better. But the ability to have that many more people who are tied in is really exciting. I was listening to the Major Nelson podcast, which is one of the official Xbox podcasts, and they were talking about how with the Windows 10 Xbox Live functionality, you could reach out to somebody while they're on their PC and say, like, hey, we're playing this game on Xbox, and then they could stream that game from their Xbox to their PC and be able to play with you. So it's not a matter of sitting around waiting to see if your friend happens to show up on Xbox Live. You can reach out to them while they're on YouTube, well, hopefully on YouTube and not elsewhere, and be able to go ahead and tie them into the game. So if you can get your player base that much broader by tying into everyone who's got a PC, Sony's got a rough deal ahead of them.
Yeah, because Sony has nothing to counter that at this point. I mean, a lot of there are feature for feature comparisons, but when it comes to streaming the video on computers, everybody who has Windows 10, Microsoft really has a leg up on Sony if they can make that happen. I've asked Ben. I said, Ben, you've got Windows 10. Are you doing the Xbox One thing yet, streaming? He says, nope, not available yet. And so.
I wouldn't say not available. It's just when I try to do it, and this goes back to what Chris said. When it works, I try to do it, and I'll admit I made my Xbox account I'd say about 8 years ago, and I have tried to put in my email address that was associated with it back in the time. I tried to do passwords, to remember passwords, blah 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 blah, and because my emails didn't sync up perfectly with the email registered to my Windows 10 account and the email that was linked to my Xbox account, because they didn't match up perfectly, I wasn't able to do it. Like, I would have to re-register everything, and that's not something I'm willing to do. Like, they didn't make it seamless and easy to set up. So it's just a service that I have yet to find myself use because it's not easy to set up.
Yeah, and I mean that'll also be a big part of it too. People who set up their Xbox Live accounts with, XX first name, last name, birth date XXX at yahoo.com. Because that was the trend back in the man. I probably just dated myself to some of our listeners.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. So, for those who, have an old email address that they don't use anymore, these are Windows accounts. Anybody who's been using Windows 8, OneDrive, Microsoft Office 365, all of those things have really integrated Windows account functionality. And it can be kind of a barrier if you haven't gotten those things synced up. I've been using the same email address since forever. But I will say that I did have one lengthy experience with Microsoft customer support, and for the most part, it was a pain in my rear. So I can't. I don't know whether things have gotten better. Maybe in the face of Amazon's customer service, they've decided to turn it up a notch. But I can imagine that there would be some hassle for those who need to make those kind of base level functionality changes.
Well, you can't be the only one, and Ben can't be the only one finding themselves in this position. So you would think after enough complaints about it, Microsoft would do something about it. But evidently, so far, it's either they haven't received a complaint or.
One thing that we have seen, or at least we have heard. One thing that we have heard from Microsoft is that this whole integration between Xbox One and Windows 10, and Windows 10 as a platform in general, we've had a couple of people come on, a couple of our regular correspondents, and they've said that, hey, this is a good product, but they probably should have waited another month or two. We see why they couldn't, we see why they had to push something out the door, but they're not done with it yet. It wasn't a finished, polished product. So I think that's what the Xbox One is to the Windows 10. It's not a finished product, and they're going to be polishing that thing until, I wouldn't be surprised if they never stop trying to add, improve, and customize it.
And we are in a world where increasingly the idea of releasing a completed, finished product is just not.
Right.
It's not something we see happen, and part of that is probably due to the to lean management methodology, where the idea is to kind of create that minimum viable product and get it out the door. Now, given that's not, I don't believe that's really supposed to be a customer-facing methodology, but I think that increasingly as we see the ability to update software become much more fluid and much less invasive to the consumer, you see those releases where it's like, yeah, this isn't quite done yet. We can see some of the places where it needs to be shined up, but then that also gives the developer the opportunity to figure out what pieces they need to focus on shining up first, instead of saying we're going to increase our dev cycle by 6 months to a year so that we can make sure everything works, and then they end up not using parts of the functionality that you spent all this time and money developing. You develop a product that ends up being a little frustrating to the consumer in certain aspects, but then you're able to tune those things up first, make the consumer happy, and then tune up the other things later. I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but I do understand some of the logic of it financially.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it doesn't make financial sense to buy both products, the Xbox and the next PlayStation 4. Although some people do. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, they have the best of both worlds, but it can be very expensive. And of course, the third holdout, and we're going to talk about Steam. Coming up a little later on the program is that's yet another platform, or the PC being the ultimate console. So those are all factors that are going to affect.
Okay, so and we're probably going to come back to this because we have like a minute left for the first break. But real quick, your friend that asked you which console, to get, did you land on one, or did you give him, what we're doing right now, which is the 30-minute? Well, this and that.
Basically I said, PS4 is my tried and true, but the Xbox One is making some pretty good moves, and in a good 3-6 months we might have a different conversation. So right now, if I had to make a decision, I would say if you're on the fence, probably vote with your wallet. You find a good deal on an Xbox One, pick up an Xbox One. You find a good deal on a PS4, pick up a PS4. My heart is still with my PS4, but I don't know for how much longer.
See, and real quick, I'm a little bit the opposite. My heart is with the Xbox One, but the sales, they don't lie. PlayStation 4, if you're looking for people to play with and be social, go with the PlayStation 4. They have 10 million more units sold.
This from the guy who just got a brand new Xbox One. Okay, listen,
sure.
Got a new news test pull review from Marty Winston. It's all coming up here on our Gamer Tuesday on Computer America.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
No, mine was a Chambord milkshake. Oh, hi, it's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bullet Review for Computer America, this time the Nora Lighting Edge-Lit LED fixture. Once we all deal with new bulbs and old sockets, LED lighting is all about fixtures that get installed once and last for longer than you're likely to own the place. Nora Lighting sent us their Edge-Lit LED fixture for review, and wow, we're impressed. It's a 2-foot square panel with an even corner-to-corner glow. It uses 38 watts total for a diffuse, even light that's brighter than 460-watt bulbs. It also has a high color rendering index, good quality white. Yes, it's dimmable, down to 5%, and yes, they offer other sizes and color temperatures. Here's the capper. A 50,000-hour life expectancy. At 3 hours per night, that's 45 years. Bottom line, Edge-Lit LED lighting panels from Nora Lighting are great lights with great expectations for maintenance-free longevity. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 33 minutes past the hour, and we're here on our Gamer Tuesday.
You look
It's
a little,
all. Hmm?
you look a little green. I don't know the weather.
Little green. Okay. Yeah. I don't even know how to take that.
No, your screen is actually green.
Is actually
Okay. Then then I know what that problem is. All right. And yeah. So while I fixed that, yes, I was like green with envy. I've never been envious in my life.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It's all games, and we're kicking off with the age-old discussion, which we are going to sway. I'm sure absolutely no person out there. Maybe, hopefully, just arm you with a little bit of facts. And it's PlayStation 4 versus the Xbox One revisited. And, of course, one thing that everyone likes to point out are, of course, sales numbers. Now, I'm having a little trouble personally pulling them up. I don't know if, Josh, if you know them off the top of your head, but I'm pretty sure that between the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 and the Wii U, I know no one ever mentions the Wii U. It's still a console, and it's, I guess, technically next gen. The hardware is, of course, a little dated, but it gets slapped out of there. But Xbox One sold, I think, about 12.8 million units since the last time they released numbers back in late April or early June, whereas PlayStation 4 had sold about 22.4 million, if I recall my numbers. So yeah, and when it's one thing about friends, and if you have a circle of friends that all purchase one thing, that's great. But I'm finding this with playing Destiny and coming in a little late to the fact is that I hear there's just a higher number of people there. There's just a better community in a place that has a possibility of having 10 million other players with you. Right. It's just at the end of the day, gaming has become a social event. Rarely are people anymore just picking up a controller and playing a single player event. Most of the games out there are multiplayer, so having that larger pool is a huge feature that Xbox can't design larger numbers for a community, and PlayStation can't design larger numbers for a community. It's just something that happens, and right now PlayStation reigns supreme in that regard.
I can't help but disagree a little bit, and it's exactly because of the Windows 10 functionality that we were talking about, right? That is inherently a design that you're designing a larger community. By taking the Xbox One community and your PC community and then combining it into the Windows community, you do stand to potentially have a really large player base. Games today probably aren't going to be able to take real advantage of that. Whether you're talking about Destiny or the Taken King, its new expansion, or actually I'm looking at some numbers here, and it looks like Metal Gear Solid 5, 70-some% of its sales. Here we go, 72%. And this is according to GamePer, but they said that 72% of the sales for Metal Gear Solid 5 were on PS4, 22% were on Xbox One, and then 5% were on legacy consoles, PS3 or Xbox 360, which I didn't even know it was being released for. So congratulations to those of you who can still get a great gaming experience on an old console. Yeah. But the fact of the matter, or the idea is that if this integration between Xbox One and Windows 10 ends up being what I am envisioning or dreaming up in my head, you now have a community with it's already pretty much standard that PC gaming, you're still using a controller. Whether you're using a Xbox 360 or an Xbox One controller, which have kind of become the default PC controllers, or whether you're using, again, foreshadowing, the Steam controller. When you're doing your PC gaming, you're already using an interface that's going to be similar to or matching the interface that's going to be on console. So imagine that Destiny Season 3 comes out and all your Xbox and it releases for Windows, quote unquote. So you have a PC version of the game, and then you also have an Xbox One version of the game. The two versions are able to interact with each other. So now all of your PC players are able to play with your Xbox One players because they're both using controllers. They're both using an integrated system through Xbox Live. that is the kind of thing that could give them the player boost that they need to get back into the space. But I do agree that in current state right now, like, there are just more potential players on a PS4, and more of the functionality for PS4 is geared towards gaming. So I think you frequently see better sales on the PlayStation Network. You see new games that are releasing for PS4 that are going to have instinctively larger communities, and a number of the I haven't looked at the games with gold as closely, which is Microsoft's free games that they give to premium subscribers every month, but Sony's games that they release every month through PSN, through shoot, why is the term?
PlayStation Play, is it?
No, PlayStation Plus. Yes.
Oh, Plus, that's it.
Yes, the games that they release through PlayStation Plus every month, a lot of them do have a multiplayer mechanic to them, and you have the added benefit of they give you 2 free games for PS4, 2 free games for PS3, and 2 free games for the Vita, all of which are technically still living, breathing consoles. And the Vita and the PS4 have some direct interaction, whereas Games with Gold, which gives you 2 free games for the Xbox One and 2 free games for the Xbox 360 every month. It almost feels like kind of a pittance type deal, because the 360 and the Xbox One don't have anything to do with each other.
Right. It's I didn't consider what you just said about the whole Windows 10 thing, because that seems like a promise that's been made for a long time, that the multiple console support where everyone plays against each other. And yes, Rocket League can do it, but to kind of think about Microsoft doing it and finally getting computers and Xboxes playing together on the same server all together, like, that would be a dream come true. But it just seems so futuristic, because it's eluded us for so long. I haven't even considered that as a possibility yet. It's just out of my mind that they can do that.
I think, though, if there were a time to dream big, it's now. The power of our current gen consoles are comparable to to mid-range PCs right now. Not to mention, one of the big issues that you always have is that the system architecture was so different. The ways that the consoles are put together at a base hardware design and coding level, with different types of processors. They speak different languages, which is the reason why emulators, they say, have to be so much more powerful than the console itself. So I think they say it's like a power of 10.
The consoles don't have the computing overhead that is required for a PC, because a PC is a general computing product, and it does many other things, and it has to have all the additional functionality and the housekeeping that's required by the operating system, because again, you're running a general purpose computer as opposed to a dedicated machine like a console. So they don't have all those additional processes and overhead. They can just deal with the issue of gaming, and because of that, although if you compare processor for processor, obviously the PC is going to be faster, but the PC is doing so much more. And
the big catch with gaming hardware architecture is that in order for a PC to, or at least in the past, before the PS4 and the Xbox One, in order for a PC to do the things that a console was doing, because they're using different types of processors, because those processors are using different languages, that's when your emulator comes into play. You're hey, I'm a PC, but I think like a PlayStation 1. Hey, I'm a PC, but I think like a Super Nintendo. And that additional translation that has to go through for all of the different things that go into playing the game is what really ends up taxing your PC hardware, which is why it took so long for there to be a viable Nintendo 64 emulator, even though the Nintendo 64 hardware isn't really that powerful. In order to run it on not a Nintendo 64, it takes a lot more resources.
No, I understand the emulators, but when you bring things into play like Steam doesn't have to do emulation, because Steam is Steam. It's designed from the ground up. to be run on a general purpose computer.
Yep.
And
Um,
which I think makes it a viable contender in the gaming market.
Well, and we have to remember that Steam, even though Steam is leveraging the power of the PC market, Steam is essentially a storefront. Steam is a retailer. They are, kind of pioneering this idea of the Steam console and the Steam box, where you have these pieces of hardware that you can keep in your living room that integrate with or stream from a dedicated piece of hardware, like your dedicated PC. But they still are going to be functioning, fulfilling a slightly different role. But they really are the dominant player in the PC gaming space. And
because the Steam box, when you cut to the chase, the Steam box is still a PC.
It's still a PC.
It can do
even though
yeah, exactly.
But the architecture for the PS4 and the Xbox One are closer to PCs than they've ever been, which is part of the reason why you're seeing so many games come out for PC at the same time as they come out for PS4 or Xbox One, or relatively close.
Well, that was intentional. That was intentional. I mean, they wanted to do that. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So you don't have to have developers doing twice the effort to bring out different platform versions.
Right. Unless you're Warner Brothers and still have trouble getting it right.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Batman.
Poor Batman. Still not fixed. Not as broken, but not fixed.
Okay. So where does that leave us as we're coming up to the toward the?
Well, I think we should really dive headfirst into just what the Steam controller means for gaming and just what Steam as a company is planning, because I'm glad to see a company. They've completely dominated. Like they are the digital distribution platform. Origin can go suck eggs. It's all about Steam, and Steam and Valve they've released successful games, very good games. They've conquered the digital distribution platform, but that's not where they're going to stop. They're planning on invading the living room, which that's a hard thing to do.
Absolutely. I think that there's obviously a bunch of money and a bunch of open space on the computer gaming market, which you're right, Steam has dominated. But I think that when it comes to those kind of life integrated moments, so to speak, the times that I want to, get together with a few buddies and play a game, or I'm trying to share an experience with a family, the things that really can merit multiple purchases outside of your individual single gamer, singular gamer, I mean, that's where the living room is still a dominant space. The living room is still going to be very important to those family households, and being able to find your way into those group dynamics, so that gaming, because like you said, Ben, gaming is becoming a social experience more than it is just let me jump in and play an RPG and get a story. So that's where functionality, where processes and hardware like the Steam controller are really going to become increasingly important in the space. Can you show the Steam controller on the little screen thingy?
Yeah, I will. Just one second. Let me find a picture, or still picture.
So just to give a little background to our folks that won't be able to see it anyway, Steam, again, run by Valve, this big content management platform, has really taken this big headlong leap into the living room space, which means that using a keyboard and a mouse is not going to be really the most convenient way to interact. Even though it's good for folks who are sitting at their own dedicated PC, let's imagine that I've got 3 or 4 buddies who come over to play a game, and I'm streaming it to my big TV, so now we can all see it, but all of us need to be sitting there with keyboards and mice on our laps. That's not going to be super functional.
And there's the game, and if you're watching on our live video stream, you can see a picture from Ben of the actual Steam controller.
Right. So that's when the Steam controller enters the play, right? The idea being that we need a controller that's both going to be functional for any sort of modern, controller-based gaming that we're doing, but also is going to be a viable platform for gaming that we're doing outside of that. People are going to be able to stream theoretically any game or I think pretty much any game that they own on Steam over to their PC. And so this controller is specifically designed to not only allow you to play games that were designed for a console or for a console controller, but also for games that were designed to be played with a mouse for being played on a PC. You can see how we have those two very large trackpads in the upper left and the upper right hand corner. I haven't used the controller myself, so I don't know how that translates into what I would imagine is mouse movement. But this is designed from the ground up to be able to cross that digital divide between PC and console gaming.
Right. The large trackpad on the right, from the videos I've seen, it's not just like a trackpad. Like, I think that actually moves like a second joystick, for console gaming. If that's the type of setup you want, it works again, just like a second joystick. So it's making it like it's definitely a weirder looking design. It's definitely, because I just showed everyone the Xbox One controller. I mean, they're very similar. A, B, X, Y to joysticks, and the D-pad up there on the top left instead of the bottom left. But it's very, very similar. It's just hard for me as such an avid PC gamer to imagine this thing is going to be able to offer all the functionality of a keyboard. This thing could probably do a mouse. It could probably do a mouse very, very well. It's just the inputs for a keyboard, that's going to be the hard one.
So what I'm imagining, and this is conjecture, what I'm imagining is that they'll include a pretty strong mapping utility. I don't think that anything that needs typing out text is going to be real functional with a Steam controller. Right. I also think that if you're trying to play something like League of Legends that requires a lot of quick motion and mapping and things like that, that might be a little difficult. But at the same time, if you think about a game like League of Legends, which is a strategy game, you're clicking around all on the map trying to figure out where you're going to go next. Theoretically, you could use a trackpad to move your cursor on the screen to figure out where you want to click at particular positions.
Right.
You could make your trigger buttons to the individual powers that you're going to use, so that essentially, your left bumper means the 1 key, your right bumper means the 2 key. So I wouldn't recommend it for pro play, but it could be something that you could do in a pinch, or if you're looking to spend time playing something with buddies.
That you mentioned that, and I'm thinking back to I forget which pro player in League of Legends it was, but it was a gentleman. Everyone else uses a mouse and keyboard. That's what they do. That's what they like. And there's one for League of Legends, and I believe there's one for World of Warcraft. 2 different players, but I don't know if you've ever seen, it was like a little thing where like you rest your hand on it, and then there are like 10 or 12 keys.
Sure.
Kind of like keyboard keys.
I don't remember if they call them a gamepad or a game.
Yeah, it's somewhere where like you rest your hand on it, and there are people who play League of Legends and World of Warcraft and things like that on those, and like that should be completely counterintuitive. Like that's the wrong way to. It's just not built around that kind of thing. But with enough practice and with enough trial and error, I guess you could make anything work. It's just designing it first of all, and then just practice. So my gut reaction is to deny, but you could probably make a lot of controllers work. So the Steam controller, though, it's something that I think a lot of people are going to have to try to believe. It's one of those things.
And that's going to be a big part of it, is the aesthetic, right? I mean, the interacting with a keyboard, most people are not used to having what I would call an intimate relationship with their keyboard. Pressing a key is pressing a key is pressing a key. And for most users who use membrane keyboards, which are going to be the typical button action that you're feeling on your laptop or your $20, $30 Target keyboard, it doesn't really matter what keyboard you're using. You might find that you like your keyboard at work more than you like your keyboard at home, or vice versa, because of some particular nuance, or you feel like one is a little stiffer than the other. But generally, we feel that a keyboard is a keyboard is a keyboard. When you get into using a controller, that becomes very different. I mean, everybody has their controller. I remember when you know, my game with my GameCube, I had 4 controllers. I had a spice yellow, a stock GameCube purple, a black, and what was my fourth one? I think the fourth one might have been a knockoff, like a or a GameStop white or something like that. But I'll be damned if I'm going to let anybody use my spice yellow controller. And my sister's was the black one, and nobody used it but her. You know, and you can feel somehow, even though they're technically identical controllers, you can feel a difference when you're using somebody else's controller. So the Steam controller very much has to have that aesthetic feel to it, because we have a different interaction with controllers. And you can see, I think, even in the way that this graphic is designed, that it's meant to highlight the curves. If you look at the underside, you can see almost exactly where your index fingers would fit beneath the A button and beneath the on the underside of the trackpad. You can even see that the little slight curve on the upper left-hand corner near the bumper button. I think that instinctively you're supposed to look at this and say, not only is this cool and futuristic, but it looks really comfortable too. And if you pick up a controller and it feels uncomfortable, it makes the whole gaming experience uncomfortable, and that puts the controller dead in the water.
I have to speak on that too, because I remember when Ben got his Xbox One, I said, let me see the controller and see if it's different, and he handed it to me, and it just felt wonderful. I mean, I held it. I felt this is something I could hold for hours and not get tired. I mean, my hands were not in any kind of a stressful position. They were in a very natural position. All the keys were literally where my index fingers, where the trigger buttons were. It felt smooth, yet it had a little bit of a rubberized feel. So I know that it wouldn't sweat in the palm of my hands, wouldn't affect it. It had a nice heft to it. I mean, everything about that Xbox One controller was really, really nice. And I said to Ben, I said, so they changed it, and they went, no, it's pretty much the same. But
they just slimmed this, slimmed that, bulked up this, and
right.
It's very, very similar.
Yeah, they're similar, but they're tweaks. This is over years of people playing this thing, and Microsoft listening and tweaking it. So what I found when I held the controller for the Xbox Ones, this was one of the best controllers I'd ever felt. And I'm not a huge gamer, let's face it, but this was something that I said, I could hold this thing for hours and play it and not get tired.
Well, and I mean, we have to remember that regardless of it being a video game controller, this is technology that people are passionate about, and they connect with in ways that they don't even process they're interacting with. Take any design for a car, right? This is something that you're going to spend a significant fraction of your life in, and a significant number of thousands of dollars to spend a fraction of your life in, particularly if you're in LA or Portland, because traffic is terrible. So you want to be in something that feels comfortable. Instinctively, I mean, the amount of time, this is actually a really interesting point. There's a headphone manufacturer called, I believe, Audio A. There was the guy who started it. I can't remember exactly his name. I believe it's Christian. I'll take a look. But I talked with him at CES, and his brand is becoming more popular because they're catering to high-end consumers, right? So they're putting together really high-quality audio, but one of the things that he kept talking about was the way that he studied high-end Italian fashion, and that this, led him to make these design choices. If you can look up, Ben, I think it's not
audio luxury.
Yes.
Audio.
Yes, that's the one. If you can pull up some of their gear, I mean, you can see that they borrow all these aesthetics from high-end race cars, luxury cars, fashion design, because they want you to have that feel of having something that's prestigious and luxurious, and they use these metal bezels. They use I mean, it looks like something out of a race car. And he said, why would I try and figure it out myself when I can just, when I can use these ideas that have been put forth by folks who have already done tons and tons of research. Look at the stitching on the leather. You can look at the metal bezels around the A. It gives instinctively a feel of class, of style. As gamers, we generally don't want something that intense. We want something comfortable, but we want something professional. And so that's why Microsoft put millions of dollars into researching the original Xbox controller, what me and my buddies like to call the dinner plate model, which was this giant hulking controller. If you had kid hands, wasn't that helpful for it, but
are you talking about the original Xbox controller?
Yes, the original Xbox
Right.
controller, the black and white buttons. It was huge, but it was meant to, if you had adult hands, the thing felt great. And so they came out with a smaller version of it, and they've been tweaking it. Just like you see high-end cars, every model year, they tweak it a little bit. They make this a little better. They make this a little tighter. They make this color a little more mellow so that it gives you the feel you're looking for. Millions of dollars go into the research for this stuff. So
I guess I observed it more than, let's say, a gamer who was using it every day, such as Ben. I mean, I looked at that Xbox One control for the first time, and have not. And it was just my first initial impression of it. I mean, I really saw a difference. I mean, I felt a difference. I could see a difference because I'm not doing it every single day like a gamer. And my experience with that controller was, wow, this is just amazing. Gentlemen, we're at the top of the hour.
We read you loud and clear. We get it. We need to go back to the N64 3-arm controller. That's the way to go. I hear it.
All right, you're listening to the Computer America Show. It's our Gamer Tuesday with computer gamer correspondent Josh Boykin. We're talking right about the different controllers. We've still got Destiny in Depth and the upcoming hits for 2015. That's all here on our Gamer Tuesday show. We're going to just pause for a quick moment. 347-884-8881 is the number. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we continue on with our Computer America gamer correspondent, Josh Boykin, editor-at-large for popzara.com, senior editor for GotGame.com, as we continue our Gamer Tuesday show for the day after Labor Day, the Labor Day holiday. Josh, again, we're talking about, we covered PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One Revisited, and we're currently on the different controllers, the Steam controller. We talked about the different controllers. Still up for the next topic is going to be Destiny in Depth. And also the upcoming hits for 2015. We're going to try to cover it all in the next hour. You were about to say something, Josh?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, have you picked up a PS4 controller?
I have not. I have not. I have not felt one. Why? What's your?
So my first thought, actually, if you look at a PS4 controller, the interesting thing about if you look at a PlayStation, an original PlayStation controller, a PS2, PS3, PS4 controller, and you put them all next to each other, they've also changed really slightly from iteration to iteration. Essentially, the PS1 and the PS2 controllers are identical. Pretty much ever since they came out with the original DualShock model, they haven't really changed. But the reason that I asked about it was because one of the things that you mentioned about the Xbox One controller was the heft of it, that it feels kind of heavy. I was using the Lumia 920 for a while, which is Microsoft's kind of flagship Windows phone.
Right.
And I loved it because it was heavy, and I felt like I was using a real phone. It made everything else feel like a toy.
You're right. You're right. That's the thing. When you look at some of the Samsung phones and everything, and I compared it with an iPhone 5S. I don't have the 6. I'm going to probably go for the 6S when they're making the big announcements. By the way, tomorrow at Apple, we'll try to have some coverage of that. But the you're correct. I think they went for the lighter version, and all they wound up doing was making it feel flimsy or plasticky. You know, I love the fact that my 5S has a little bit of heft to it. It makes it feel like a quality item, and I got that same feel from the Xbox One controller. I said, this is something solid. This is well made, and I'm not holding a flimsy little plasticky thing.
And that's exactly it. You know, when I pick up the PS4 controller, which I do like over the PS3 controller, the thumbsticks have a slight divot in them that make them a little better to hold. They have a touchpad in the middle that is used for virtually nothing, but could be nice if somebody did something with it. And their triggers are curved so that they're a little easier to press. They feel just instinctively better. But it doesn't have that weight. And I find that the more time that I spend with my Xbox One controller, whether I'm doing PC gaming or playing on my Xbox One, I miss that weight when I go back to my PS4. And I understand that that's super nuanced or whatever, but it is really interesting the way that these companies must do millions of dollars worth of research to figure out, well, how heavy should it be? And you're like, well, it should be light. And then somebody else says, no, it shouldn't, because if it's too light, it feels cheap.
It does, and there's something that you would think instinctively that the lighter product would be better because it's you hold it for several hours. It's you don't feel the weight, but there's a point of no return. You have to find it really is more of an art form, I think, than a science to find the correct balance and heft of these devices. Because when I felt the iPhone 6, I said, it was the first time that I held an Apple product that it felt a little flimsy, and of course then we had Bengate and all the other problems that were associated to it. So I'm wondering if the 6S is going to, be a little bit more solid because and less subject to that type of thing. But
of course, we hold Ben responsible for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bengate, but still, it sounds like it's his fault.
I mean, it's the phone. It bends. It's plastic. What would you expect?
Yeah, just saying. I almost renamed it Bengate, but yeah, figured that I didn't want to put all that right on you.
Anyway, I'm going to be covering we're going to be watching the iPhone revelation. It's tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, depending what side of the country you're on. But I'm going to be watching it, and then Sandy Berger is going to be joining us, and we'll be commenting along with her on it as well. But getting back to what we're talking about now, and the fact that heavier doesn't necessarily mean it's harder to hold. When I held the Xbox One controller, it just felt really good, and it was something that I knew that I could hold for several hours and not get tired of holding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And much like earlier we went to the references of South Park. Whenever I have my controller, why would it be heavy when you have a perfectly good tummy to rest the controller on while you're playing? It's it is what it is.
Yeah. And that's really the goal, is to create quality tummies on which to rest controllers. Right. And you don't have to buy controller rests. And you get to eat whatever you want.
Or you need to buy a tripod for your controller so it rests on the tripod.
Getting a lot of gear in that living room space.
Exactly. All right, so
before we move on to Destiny and all that stuff, the Steam controller we've covered, controllers we covered. Any word on any Steam machines that have made it to market yet, or is Steam still trying to ramp up its offerings for breaking into the living room?
I don't know whether I haven't really kept up on the release of actual Steam-branded Steam machines. Alienware has, I believe, dropped a console that's essentially a Steam box. I've seen those show up even on Woot.com, the one sale a day site. I've seen boxes pop up here and there, but I haven't. To be completely honest, I haven't seen one. I'd love to get my hands on one just to see how well it does that translation, how effective it is at bringing gaming into a console space. But I do feel like if I were to look at my Steam library and then see how, even when Steam released its big picture mode, so that it was essentially letting everybody know, hey, we're going to be on your TV pretty soon. When Steam released its big picture mode, I still felt like, well, I need to be at a computer, because otherwise there's this entire, half of my Steam library I can't play. And I feel like I would still get that sense where I'm scrolling through the list. I'm like, well, can't play that, need a mouse, can't play that, need a mouse, can't play that, need a mouse. I don't know if I would want to spend a whole bunch of money on something that couldn't play half my games. But again, with the release of the Steam controller, and I'm sure there are folks out there who have made keyboard mouse setups that are good for their living room and TV. I just haven't heard a whole lot about it yet.
Well, if you poke around for 2 seconds on their site, store.steampower.com, you can actually find all of these Steam machines, right there cataloged. And in terms of prices, if you felt that, and if you go into this thinking that it's a console and that and it should just do what a console does and that's it, then and people really scoffed at the Xbox One having a $500 price tag. You're gonna have to drop that mentality out the door because some of these Steam machines, they're full-blown gaming computers in a nice small form factor. Alienware, oddly enough, is actually one of the cheapest Steam machines out there. I know we can't really say that Alienware is cheap, but yeah, no, they have Steam machines all the way up to here $1,100, $700, $2,000 to $5,000. These things, like, I guess they're out there. Well, no, I'm sorry. Looks like they're all available for pre-order, except for the Alien one. The Alien one is available now, but all these will be available in November 2015. So, I guess this holiday push, we should, if they're smart, really be making the effort to get these in front of people's eyeballs. Some good advertising.
Yeah, well, and again, that's going to be where the Steam controller is really going to help them with their sales. I think right now also, if you pre-order, I think we might have talked about this already. You pre-order a Steam controller and you get a copy of Rocket League and another game for free, or at least as of last week. And I should have done it because I wanted one and I didn't do it. But that's not the point. So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens come November. It's going to be kind of I think with the Steam boxes, with VR headsets, with augmented reality, we're looking at what could be a pretty big pivot point in gaming history coming up over the next couple of years.
All right.
Yeah, if they really like that's where I could see purchasing a Steam machine. In all honesty, because Steam's probably going to be the best place to get virtual reality games. That's they have a nice platform for it, and they have a great community built up around it. I think Steam's going to be the place where virtual reality is going to live. But I think if they can get a reasonably priced, and I'm thinking $600 to $800 to maybe tops $1,000, a reasonably priced Steam machine that is going to be optimized for virtual reality. That's where I think even I would consider throwing money at a Steam machine. Because right now I have a PC, I have a console already. Steam machine just seems like another one, just another log on the fire that I really don't need. But if they can capitalize on this whole virtual reality push and kind of convince me, okay, I can see where a Steam machine is going to be the console for virtual reality. That's what I want to see, and it seems like. With Steam already developing their own, of course, virtual reality headset, and with the Steam machine, we're undoubtedly going to see that. It's going to be a nice package altogether with virtual reality, a Steam machine, and a Steam controller. Bam, you're good to go, all in the living room. Like that's going to be the big push, and I'm excited to see that.
For sure.
Excellent. All right. Again, if you have a comment or a question, give us a call, 347-884-8881, 347-884-8881. Or submit at computeramerica.com. Any of the upper right-hand corners of any of our screens at computeramerica.com. Click Submit a Question and get your question submitted and answered. Ben, you were laughing at something?
Yeah, no, Josh probably get this, Craig, you probably won't, but yeah, I was just looking. Remember how I said one of these Steam machines costs $2,000 to $5,000?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is the Falcon Northwest Tiki, which will be available this November, and popular user tags, because you can put all the tags you want on Steam, but really the community kind of tags it for you. So it'll be first-person shooter, role-playing. Like they can get user-assigned tags, and for this one, Steam Machine, hardware, free-to-play, and then of course Illuminati is here as well for whatever reason.
I feel like is it a $5,000 Steam machine? Because if so, the only people who can afford to drop that are the Illuminati.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gonna need to be some kind of secret society to afford the $5,000 Steam machine.
It's yeah. I still we still have to keep in mind that though gaming is a powerful technology that integrates into our daily lives, uh, to drop $5,000 on a singular piece of hardware that does not take you to or from work, it's
Right.
that's pretty intense. So
Right.
unless it is your work, in which case I'd like your job.
Playing on a Steam machine. But yeah, no, so this November we'll definitely check into that. But I think that's as far as we want to go into Steam for right now. They're going to be around for a while, and I'm sure Half-Life 3 is going to be announced the same day virtual reality is announced. So, I guess the next thing is you actually have, I don't know if this is a bone to me or if you've actually been playing Destiny yourself lately, but you have here Destiny in depth. And yes, there's a new DLC coming, which do they call them full-blown expansions, or are they just DLC?
I think the Taken King, and I'm going to double check this because I keep saying it, and every time that I see it marketed, it is marketed as a game. It comes in a case. It is, I believe, it's standalone. But now I need to research that because it would be inappropriate for me not to. But let's see. So Legendary Edition, already a Destiny owner, you can get VIP awards. Yes, this is a standalone piece of content. It is the I guess technically it's $60 for the Legendary Edition. I just air quoted again. It comes with the original version of Destiny along with both expansions, The Dark Below and House of Wolves. So I am imagining. So let's see if I am a VIP owner.
Well, for $60, that you could probably, if you already own Destiny and the 2 expansions, I'm sure for as far as DLC goes, I think you can just purchase just the Taken King for $20 as a DLC add-on. But if you it's the first time jumping into Destiny, I believe for $60 you get the collector's edition and you get all the other games.
Right. And that's what, I'm trying to find, here we go, digital download. Looks like $40.
$40, okay.
Yes, $40 for the Taken King, and that's for quote-unquote guardians that own Destiny and both expansions. So if you bought Destiny and you didn't pick up that season pass, you are going to probably be better off at this point picking up the Legendary Edition, which includes the original content in both expansions. Because otherwise you pick up the 2 expansions for the original at, I believe, $24.99 plus another $40, so you're paying an extra $5.
Right. That's actually very nice the way they did it, because we saw the first couple expansions with World of Warcraft and other games where if you fell behind in terms of expansions and games, like they never really dropped the price of the original game. So sometimes you're shelling out $20, $30 for the original, and then another $15 to $20 on top for every expansion before that, and then the brand new one, which of course costs $40 to $60. Like, it was a huge hurdle to overcome. But if you're joining in late and you're just getting into Destiny now, for $60 you get everything and the latest expansion. That's not a high hurdle to jump at all.
I mean, it'd be the same price as walking into Destiny when it originally launched last September. And right. I think really this is more of a retrospective question. Destiny has had a year of work, of mechanics, of those kinds of things, and I guess kind of my question is, was year 1 successful? I don't know that this is a big open-ended question. I think kind of this is one of those 8-ball all signs point to yes type deals. But it's very interesting to look back at the history of this game over the past year, because it does very much represent an evolution in gaming as far as it being that social experience that you were talking about, Ben. I was talking with a friend of mine who says that she basically plays it because it's an opportunity for her to get together with her friends. And I mean, honestly, it's the reason I stopped playing it was because, eventually my friends weren't online at the same time I was, and then I realized like, hey, I'm poking a Skinner box right now, and I want to poke a different Skinner box. For those unfamiliar with the Skinner box, I'm going to look up the technical idea. Basically, it's something you push it, and then it gives you a treat, and so you keep pushing the button, and eventually it gives you a treat. But then sometimes you push the button, and it doesn't give you a treat. But because you want the treat, you push the button again. And so then
It sounds like a lab experience from Pavlov that's gone wrong or something gone bad.
Yeah, so let's consult Wikipedia, shall we? For the background on the operant conditioning chamber. It was a laboratory apparatus used to study animal behavior. So essentially, that is exactly what happened. There's a loudspeaker. No, I don't. There's too much science here. So basically, there's a loudspeaker and some lights. There's a signal that's given to mouse to basically hit a response lever. When the signal comes out and then they hit the lever, they receive the reward. Well, then sometimes they hit the lever and the reward doesn't show up, but they keep hitting the lever anyway because we already know, hey, when this thing happens and this thing happens, when A happens and B happens and I do C, I get a reward. Well, then you keep doing C.
It's like a dog begging for food at the table. Sometimes he gets food, and sometimes he doesn't get food.
But it doesn't stop him from begging at the table.
It doesn't stop him from begging at the table. Right? It's the same concept. Exactly.
So that's essentially how I felt when I was playing Destiny, right? One of the big complaints when the game first started up was that basically the loot system was messed up, right? So anytime that you play one of these games, you've got this big group of people, and you go out and you fight this big giant mission, and you beat the boss, and you feel great, and then you get nothing. Which is, by the way, for those of you who don't know, that's how real life works.
Kids, listen up.
Generally called your job. Hate to break it to you, but so the thing is that they would basically the random number generator was set as such, and perhaps the idea was supposed to be that if you only give rewards to the person who is the most successful, then the same people get rewarded all the time, and then other people don't feel any incentive to show up because they are never going to be as good as the person who's number one. So why bother participating, right? Because you're not going to get anything. Right. So they set up this essentially random number generator that would control whether or not you got things after you won a match or lost a match or beat a boss. Well, far too infrequently, even when you work, because the trade-off is that then when you do work hard and then you become this is going to sound like some sort of treatise on I don't know, like Ayn Rand capitalism or something, and that's not where this is supposed to go. Anyway, so what would happen is sometimes you would be at the top of the leaderboard and you could like get 24 kills against everybody else and you're doing really well, and you would get nothing. And the person at the bottom who just dropped into the match 5 seconds ago, and then the match ended, and all of a sudden you see they got a piece of legendary gear, and you're like, wait, but they didn't do anything, and so that left a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths as it happened over and over again. So eventually what players would do is they would come up with these ways to essentially hit the lever on the Skinner box as frequently as possible, right? Because you know that you're just fighting against a random number generator. So there was this thing called the loot cave, right? Where it was hilarious. You show up in this particular world, and again, it's all online. It's a big multiplayer thing, right? And you'd show up and you would see 8 players, and they're all decked up in their, biggest, baddest gear or whatever, and they're just shooting at a cave like 200 feet away. Like literally just popping a bunch of ammo into this cave, and you're like, what's going on here? Well, what they had figured out is that when you stood in this particular spot, it was far enough away that the game would randomly would continuously spawn enemies out of this little cave. So if you killed the enemies over and over again, you would be you'd be tapping your Skinner box lever, rolling your dice over and over and over again, and it would give you new items. So instead of going through and completing the missions and fighting the boss and saving the universe, you have these big beefy guardians standing around shooting at little punks coming out of a cave. And it was, it was funny because it was part of this social experience that people weren't trying to figure out how to play Destiny. People were trying to figure out how to break Destiny because
did they fix that?
yes, they did patch the loot cave. The loot cave is now a thing of memory. But these are the stories that I think make Destiny so relevant in modern gaming, because it was, similar to the ways that World of Warcraft have really, has shaped MMOs in general. Destiny was kind of the first, in my opinion, one of the first big MMOs for console players.
Yeah.
So they don't have the level of control. They don't necessarily have the same interactivity that's assumed with a PC environment, and a lot of people who are a little more casual, who are finding that they are a lot more committed to this enterprise than they expected. And so to see those things take place and the ways that the developers attempted to address those problems, I think make Destiny really interesting to look at in terms of gaming history and whether or not Year One was a success. Did you get your hands on it much, Ben? I know you just started playing it recently. Right?
I just started playing about 3 weeks ago, and I've of course come in late to everything. I have a level 32, a level 29, and a level 3. But it's and I guess I'm trying to play catch up right now to everyone else. And I think they've built a lot of great tools for new players and for people first jumping in. And it's, with the new expansion coming in a week, you're going to be on pretty much an even playing ground, because with new content, new gear, and everything, everyone should be just about gearing up at the same pace. But it's like, there's one thing I will say, for being such a social game and all that kind of stuff. I liked the fact that you could do these things called strike missions, and you automatically find 2 other people, you play your game, you have a good time for 10, 15, 20 minutes per mission, and you go on about your day, maybe meet some friends. Very, very easy to do, very, very fun. But then they have another aspect of the game, which is called raids, where it's not 3 people anymore, it's 6 people. And this is a far cry from computer raids, where people would get into groups of 20, 40, 100, what have you. And 6 people doesn't seem like a lot, but at the same time, I have maybe 2 people on my friends list that play Destiny. I don't have 6 people, and I hate the fact that I have to go out to third-party websites. I have to go out to third-party, although endorsed by Bungie, websites to find people to play with. It's just the tools to finding other people to play with past a certain point in the game, they're so horrible at it. And maybe something that I don't, but I've only been playing for 2 or 3 weeks, but the community tools are really subpar.
Yeah, and that was an issue from back when I was still playing Destiny. It was that you would have to jump out to a Reddit thread
Right.
to try and find other folks who were trying to matchmake, or you'd stand around and this especially happened when the game first started and you hit the level cap. Other people can see what your level is, so you would go back to Earth so that you could buy new items or whatever. And keep in mind, this game, for a social game, is very quiet because there isn't an open chat. Open chat.
As much fun as that would be.
Yeah, I can only imagine some of the grief that would show up. But so there's no open chat channel, but you go back to what is essentially the store. And if you were at level cap, you would just get requests from random people over and over to join your party, because when you get those requests, they're looking for people to do the 6-man raid. They're looking for somebody to carry them through, through a boss fight that's on the 3rd level. Like, those are the kinds of things that I hope that they do some work on the Taken King, and I don't know just how much they have worked in trying to tune up their community management tools. But you're right, especially for console gamers who are not generally accustomed to bringing in secondary or tertiary tools to do what they need to do. You know, PC gamers are used to downloading Ventrilo so that they can chat with folks. They're used to downloading modding tools so that they can see how much damage they're doing per second, so that they can, you know, do all sorts of analytics that kind of tweak and improve their game. Console
Lots of
gamers.
third-party support for these kinds of games, but for third-party support for a console game, that's you know, I've played consoles for a long time. I've rarely, if ever, had to do that. Like maybe, you know, forums and maybe leaderboards for, you know, something like Halo, but at the end of the day, to find groups, it just seems like a huge gaping hole in what should be an easy to socialize environment.
Yeah, I hope that gets better, and who knows, this could be a perfect opportunity for Windows 10 to show some additional functionality, since even though Destiny does have or did have a console preference at the on its original launch, you know, I'm sure that Bungie and Microsoft are still pretty close friends, and this might be an opportunity to see some of that increased functionality with PC gameplay, if that's something that they have on their radar. But again, Destiny is still a console exclusive game, so PC folks, you're still not going to be able to join in the action just yet.
All right, coming up at the last half hour, we're going to talk about some of the upcoming hits. What games are going to make gamers the happiest for the remainder of 2015, maybe a little bit of insight of what's coming up for 2016. You're listening to the Computer America Show. It's our Gamer Tuesday show. Correspondent Josh Boykin is here with us, editor-at-large for PopZera.com and also senior editor for GotGame.com. We're going to take a little break. We have a brand new News Tips Bull review again from Marty Winston coming up as well. You're listening to the Computer America Show. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
No, there's no fun at political parties. Oh, hi, it's Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, Flume. A gizmo the size of a pocket lighter has a flip-down plug for a smartphone's audio jack, a flip-around mouthpiece into which you blow, and a small, fairly quiet siren that lets you hear how steadily you're blowing. This is Flume, F-L-O-O-M-E. an Italian-designed product that essentially smells the alcohol on your breath and reports to a free companion app. The app warns if you're over the limit for your current locale and gives you the option of phoning a friend or calling for a taxi, or it can estimate how long it will take you to sober up. Bottom line, even people who won't believe friends who say they're too drunk to drive can get the truth from a flume and maybe survive. Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Here in the last half hour of our Gamer Tuesday, these shows always fly by. It's shocking, shocking. We are discussing Destiny right now. We're probably going to wrap it up and just Destiny. Looking back, I guess you call it Season 1. As someone who has no idea, I just jumped in 2 weeks ago. There was a season? Like, is this a planned thing for player versus player, or like what do these seasons denote?
So I guess I call it Season 1 because the Taken King kind of, even though it is DLC, it's an addition to the original, to Destiny's original plan. If you were to look at like the season pass, right, that came out when Destiny originally released, it included expansion 1 and expansion 2. Was it House of Wolves? And the other thing that I just said 3 seconds ago.
The Dark Below, I think.
Thank you. So, short-term memory issues apparently. So, so the original season pass, right, included those 2 expansions. So I would say that anything that comes after that would be part of what, season 2. So perhaps with the Taken King, they'll have a season pass that includes expansions 4 and 5, if we want to call this expansion 3. And I think one thing that I did remember, which I'm not sure if they've tuned up on, but I will say was one of my biggest disappointments with Destiny, and is one of the things that even if you're watching, can you pull up the Destiny Taken King homepage?
Sure.
Because they have a super intense video that they show on this homepage, and it's really exciting to watch. But my biggest disappointment or letdown with Destiny was its ridiculous lack of story. A lot of people compared Destiny to Borderlands when it first came out. Borderlands being a pretty crazy loot-driven first-person shooter. You play it cooperative with friends. And you go through, you complete missions, you get new guns, the guns do crazy things. That's kind of the fun of the experience. But still, even in Borderlands, where it is very much loot-centric, you still have this surprising connection with the characters and the story and the background of Borderlands, and they integrate it into the world in a way that doesn't interfere with the gameplay. Destiny unfortunately lost one of its primary writers not too long before the game's launch, and I believe with that loss, they lost a host of content that was supposed to be integrated into the game. So even though they wrote it up as this really big, story-centric, immense, expansive MMO universe, it ended up feeling pretty shallow on the story. And then top that off with Peter Dinklage's really terrible voice acting. I understand that everybody says he's a great actor aside from this, but since I don't watch Game of Thrones, I don't give him any credit. And his voice acting in this was really bad, and I'm sure he was.
Who does he voice act as? The little ghost?
The ghost.
Okay.
Yes, essentially he is the for Zelda fans. He is the Navi of Destiny. Right. The little floating
thing, that little globe that follows him.
Yeah, okay. That follows him around, and says things in a somewhat concerned voice, but it's like I don't know, I can't do it. It hurts to remember it. The point of the story, though, is that there was no story, and so in order to actually access the story of Destiny, you had to download a companion app. While you're playing through the game, you would get these cards that you would unlock, and they would give you kind of Destiny points or whatever, that as far as I know don't do anything. But you would unlock these cards, and the cards would give you information about the lore and the world of Destiny, some of which was really interesting and provided a lot of background as to why you were doing the things you were doing in the game. Now, this would be great if you were able to actually access this information while in the game. But instead, you had to either download the app that you put on your phone or access the Destiny website so that you could look at the cards that you had unlocked, so that you could read about the story in the game that you had to stop playing while you went to your phone or your computer to look up the lore. You know, it was just a ridiculously disconnected experience, and I'm sure that there was a reason for why they did what they did.
You said they lost somebody, that he just quit, or did he pass away? I didn't.
I believe he quit. Yeah, I don't believe he's. I believe he's still with us in the physical realm.
Well,
but I do believe he left the project.
Well, I mean, if it was that crucial or that critical, why they just couldn't pay him a bunch of money? And say, hey, like, finish the job and then go. You know, don't abandon the job.
Because they could probably think that they could do it without him, or they could piece something passable off without him.
Or he was super angry and told him, you know what, I don't care. Or he found a better project, or I'm not sure the details of it, but this is like the second season of Heroes. This teaches us the benefit of a quality writer and the suffering that we can go through when we are missing a quality writer. Writers, I think, are significantly undervalued. This might be my bias as an English major and journalist, but
are you saying that Heroes Reborn is the upcoming is not going to be very good? You're saying?
Well, there's no writer's strike right now, so Heroes Reborn could be good. Heroes was almost my religion when the first season came out. We had I think I can remember having a fire drill during college when an episode of Heroes came on, and that was back when people were still did something about a fire drill. Did you notice that if you're in a building, like you're at work and there's a fire drill, everybody just looks around like they're really upset about you interrupting them from their work, and then sits at their desk and does nothing?
Like, everyone looks around, it's like, let's see, that's a fire drill. Is anyone else getting up and moving? No one's really moving, so I'm going to ignore that and assume it was nothing.
They're going to have a new fire alarm system that automatically kicks in when there's an actual fire, so that somebody can say, no, really, get the F out of the building, it's on fire.
Like what I want is like a fire drill, and then like Louis C.K.'s voice going, I'm not messing with you people, there's a fire downstairs, I'm not kidding.
Why are you sitting in your... and it's like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy making money as much as the next person, but are we so committed to the 5 minutes of making money that we're not going to lose because it's a fire drill, but they're just like, man, I cannot be bothered with possibly saving my own life right now because I have a spreadsheet to fill out.
So I'm assuming that you took this fire drill and during an episode of Heroes, and you risked life and limb and stayed and watched Heroes.
Yeah, I did not leave. Well, I tried to not leave. Somebody came into my room and basically forcibly removed me. Not physically, that would be illegal.
Didn't you have a DVR or something you could have recorded it?
No, this was before. I look young. I am not that young. This was still in the days of cathode ray tubes and cheap college internet with no DVRs. If I missed it, I missed it, and this was before Hulu and watching it on TV the next day. So
you were really
back in my day.
Well, it's Heroes. It's not like we're talking about the Carol Burnett show or something. It's Heroes, so it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but it was long enough.
Yeah.
Right.
There were not the different venues that we have today where you could actually watch a show that was just recently broadcast. So.
Right.
Okay.
So, but still, yeah, that's it. Good writers.
But Destiny, writers, story, just jumping into it, the story was okay, but I think I'd never really looked at it like this should have an expansive story, because it is an MMO. Like, this is billed as an MMO for a console. And I never really, I guess, kind of thought of it that way. I just thought it was like, hey, a massively multiplayer version of Halo. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is exciting. I get to shoot stuff with other people. But I guess when you're looking at it like that, I spent, 12 hours the other day just looking up, stories and backstories of characters in the Warcraft universe. Destiny, I do not care at all about my guardian, about my ghost, about like I don't care what the story is, and that's probably a problem. As an MMO, there should be some kind of visceral connection to who you're playing, what you're doing, the events of the world, and I just haven't made that connection yet. It's just a feel good, go shoot 'em version of Halo.
Well, and I think that's part of. Were you able to find that web page?
Well, while he's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
let me
Yeah.
let me
Yeah. I have it up.
let me just interject something because I watched Ben playing Destiny for the first time, and again, sort of as an outsider, and I looked at it and I said, "This is Halo. It's a different environment, but he's doing the same thing with the same things, kind of reacting. He kind of already knew the buttons to push on the controller. He said they're pretty much the same." And except for the little flying bot was around him, that was kind of different. Other than that, it looked just basically like what you would do with Halo. And that was my observation from it, and I think that's what Ben is saying. It was the same thing.
Definitely. I mean, especially with it being a game that was designed by, it was designed by Bungie, the folks at Halo. I think they, there's a lot from it that borrows from Halo, and it plays very well. But even Halo has a lot of lore and a lot of backstory that people are really committed to. And I think that one of the differences might be that coming into Destiny this late in the game, you've already got kind of a sense of what it is you're walking into, right? You already know that, it's a game that's fun to play with friends and that kind of thing. But one of the big kind of hype train points was this, if you hit that play button.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll work through the streaming thingy.
But yeah.
But one of the big kind of hype points was its attention to story and how immersive this world was going to be. And if you watch this particular video, for those of you in the listening audience, it is really intense. The action you're watching a cutscene essentially that feels like anything that you would see in some sort of AAA blockbuster movie. Now, regardless of how shallow your AAA blockbuster movie is, you still feel like you want to be attached to the protagonist so that you care whether they live or die. And you kind of get that feeling when you're watching the trailer. My hope is that the Taken King finds some way to integrate that story and that experience into the gameplay so that even when you're done with the content, you feel like, okay, I did that for a reason, as opposed to when I went through it, I just went to each level and just ran the mission because that's what I was supposed to do. I find that one of the interesting things about Destiny is how much it borrows from the mobile gaming space and the ways that mobile gaming convinces people to stay committed to mobile gaming. One of the things they'll say is that there's this great expansive story, right? And so it's one of these games where every mission has maybe a paragraph of text in front of it that says, now you're going on the pirate ship, and then zombies showed up. And it's like, realistically, nobody's even reading this. It's just they're going from one level to the next because that's how you go through the battle to advance your character to unlock new stuff. And Destiny, in my opinion, did very much the same thing, at least during the time that I was playing it. I do reserve the right to be wrong at this point because the second expansion has come out and developed. They've prepped for the Taken King, and it's quite possible that they have done a lot to make this a stronger game from its story perspective. But I think that is going to be an increasingly important part of figuring out what makes Destiny not just another Call of Duty that comes out every year.
Right. And with MMOs specifically, like in this genre, I think there's a lot of setting up your story in the first and second season and just getting a lot of the basics right. But a lot of them don't hit their strides until, I always go back to WoW, and they really didn't hit their high point until Wrath of the Lich King, their third expansion. Guild Wars 2, they didn't really hit their stride until a couple years after they released theirs. Just all of them, they take time to develop. It's not just a one-off game. It's a long process to make an MMO. That's kind of one of the things that separates these kinds of games from first-person shooters. It's just something that you buy in 1 minute, play through in a week, and you put it on the shelf and say, oh, that was fun. They're an ever-developing story. So just seeing the trailer for Taken King, I'm sorry we showed it there. It was very, very low quality, but definitely go check it out. The hype is real. It looks good, and I guess by the time we talk next Gamer Tuesday, I will have definitely played it, and we'll talk about if it's just what Destiny needed.
For sure.
Okay. All right, we got about 10 minutes left to talk a little bit about the upcoming hits and for what's going to make gamers the happiest for the rest of 2015. Josh, why don't you just take the lead on this one?
Well, looking at Q3 and Q4, third quarter and fourth quarter of the year, and actually they do correspond to calendar years, so that's a little easier to keep in mind than fiscal years, because those are weird. So we're looking at the tail end of Q3 right now, coming into September, and then obviously our big holiday rush when everybody wants to drop things that they want to find under people's tree or respective holiday gift-giving centers of focus and enjoyment and money spending.
Okay.
We have let's see, the rest of September actually has some kind of heavy hitters in it. Tearaway Unfolded, actually, we've had a lot of people talking about today. Tearaway was a almost Zelda-ish game that came out for the PlayStation Vita a couple years ago with a lot of critical acclaim. Tearaway Unfolded for the PS4 did come out today. The reviews I've seen, a buddy of mine, Kyle Prawl, who writes for PlayStation Universe, said that he really enjoyed it. I'd like to see that one pick up some speed, but it'll probably still stay a little bit niche. Also, next week we have Super Mario Maker, which I think people are looking at as sort of a Wii U revival title. This is a game that people are going to be able to design their own Mario levels using items and stages and backgrounds from everywhere, from the original Super Mario all the way up through like Super Mario World, Super Mario Brothers 3. I don't know that 2 is involved in there. But we have Adam Lark over at Got Game take a look at it and seemed to really enjoy that as well. So also big internationally. I should also point out that I believe Madden came out today. Why is it
Madden?
not on here? Yeah.
Madden football?
Yeah. No. Madden football is, I believe it might have come out already, and maybe I just got an email from Best Buy saying it was out. I don't know. Anyway, the new Madden came out, which people care about here in the States, but for most people who care about football game releases, we are talking about FIFA 2016, which will come out right near the end of September on the 22nd. FIFA is basically EA's hardest hitting franchise because the rest of the world loves soccer and we're just figuring it out. Yeah.
Well, women's soccer, we just won, and although no one else cares about that,
and that's why we care.
But hey, yeah, America's a winner in something finally. Yay, right. Soccer! So
right. That's how it works. So like, did we win? Okay, we'll pay attention. Also, let's not forget that coming up here at the end of September, we also have, for the kids, we have a new Skylanders Superchargers. We have Lego Dimensions, which is basically Lego's toy in-game tie-in like Skylanders or Disney Infinity. And we just recently did see the release of Disney Infinity 3.0, which brings in some Star Wars figures and some new functionality to the Disney Infinity universe.
Right.
Going into October, we've got a number of hits that people are going to be looking forward to. Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, is going to package Uncharted 1 through 3 in a remastered package for the PlayStation 4. We're also going to see Yoshi's Woolly World, which people were really excited about at E3. That's going to be a Wii U exclusive that folks are going to be able to get their hands on. We also, in October, are going to see the release of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which people are kind of up and down about Assassin's Creed right now.
I saw a hype trailer for that, and it was just your average gamer who went to a conference and played a demo version. And the last one, what was it? Black Flag?
The last one was Unity.
Unity. That's it. And someone was like, it's like, wow, this Assassin's Creed is more like Black Flag or whatever the pirate one was, and not Unity. Like they said that Like, and they let that go through, and essentially what they want to say is, hey, this Assassin's Creed, it's back to the original quality of some of our better games, not like the quality of some of our more recent games, because recently their quality has gone down.
Yeah, Ubisoft right now has a pretty bad reputation for dropping games that have no business being dropped at the time they're dropped. And I am still a little bitter about the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole. And I understand it. I think it's responding to what the market wants. But I think that they have increasingly paid less attention to story and more attention to creating just a general open world experience.
Right.
And I really enjoyed the attention to story and character that they offered through the Ezio trilogy, through Assassin's Creed 2, and then its subsequent sequels. So. But we'll see how that works out. Let's also not forget that October 27th is going to offer us Halo 5 Guardians, which is the next iteration in the Halo franchise. This will revolve around you playing as Spartan Locke, who's actually trying to track down Master Chief, with the whole idea being whether or not Master Chief is a traitor. We also have a number of new multiplayer components that come with Halo 5 Guardians that people are really excited about, and a really gorgeous Halo 5 version Xbox One that is bundled with a copy of Halo 5, a digital copy of Halo 5 Guardians.
Right.
Master Chief can't be a traitor. Come on.
Hey, well,
he's missing in action forever.
For so long. There's only going to be one way to find out, and that's to play Halo 5 Guardians. I should maybe work for Microsoft if I keep talking like this. And I have to admit, as somebody who is not a big Halo franchise devotee, I am kind of excited about it, and I won't lie, part of it is because of its protagonist Locke, who is a fully voice-acted black character. That's my little piece of social justice I'm going to stick in there. So. Yeah,
hey man, take it where you can get it. Take it where you can get it.
You know we have to. Let's see. So going into November, we have Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which comes out on the 6th. That's going to be cross-platform, and obviously is Activision's big money maker. This one's a Treyarch released one, the same folks who did Black Ops 2 and World at War. This one is based on I played through the multiplayer beta. It really didn't feel particularly groundbreaking to me. I was a bigger fan of the faster-paced version that came with Advanced Warfare last year, but we'll have to see how this works, especially when it releases its co-op campaign, which people are excited about. November 10th, November 10th, we've got Fallout 4 and Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider is a Microsoft exclusive. For the 360 and for the Xbox One. Fallout 4, which everybody has just been losing their minds over. This game's been ridiculously long-awaited. Open world, kind of a nuclear Fallout scenario, and that is going to have people glued to their respective screens probably for months, if not years.
Right.
For those of you looking for a Fallout fix, right now you can be playing Fallout Shelter, which is available for both iOS and Android. It's kind of a tiny tower-esque building simulation thing with a Fallout twist. A lot of people really enjoy it. Let's also not forget, I'm sorry, I know we're running low on time, so I'm trying to crunch and wrap up.
Okay.
Let's not forget about Star Wars Battlefront that drops on the 17th, which November 17th. That's going to be a huge hitter this holiday season. Battlefront franchises.
When's the movie?
What was that?
When's the movie coming out? Star Wars, the movie?
I believe the Episode 7 comes out near Christmas, doesn't it?
Yeah, closer. Yeah, somewhere in December.
Okay.
Episode.
So the game will come out before the movie does. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it comes out December 18th.
Okay.
So we'll see Battlefront, which is not necessarily directly tied to that franchise, but we'll see that come out on the 17th. We also are going to see a re-release of Deadpool on the 18th. Which was originally released for the 360 and PS3, which they're probably going to use to hype up their oncoming Deadpool movie with Ryan Reynolds. Star Fox Zero and Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. Those are going to be 2 Nintendo releases on the 20th. They love to release on Sundays because nobody else does. That's going to be another game that we're going to try and turn heads with on the Wii U is the new Star Fox. And then Pokemon Mystery Dungeon devotees get another iteration on the 3DS. And then coming up in December, right before the holiday drop, we have Just Cause 3, giant, crazy open world experience that a lot of PC gamers in particular have been waiting for. That'll be coming out for PS4, Xbox One, and Windows on the 1st, along with Rainbow Six Siege, assuming Ubisoft doesn't delay it again, which we can't guarantee. We also have Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is the sequel to the cult classic Xenoblade Chronicles that was brought over for the Wii. That's going to be another Wii U exclusive. And on the 8th, we have Hitman, which is going to be sort of a rebooting of the franchise. It was a really big splash by Square Enix at E3. Open world, tearing up, doing assassin missions however you want to. That's on the 8th. Those are, I would say, sort of our big highlights for the end of the year. Obviously, there are a number of other games that we weren't able to cover, other games that will show up and hopefully make some splashes too. But I would keep an eye out on those walking into the holiday season.
All right. Again, Josh Boykin, thank you so much for being with us here on our Gamer Tuesday. Very informative, very fun show.
90 seconds.
And we stay with us to the end, but we look forward to you having you back on our next Gamer Tuesday show, which will...
Thanks a lot. I had a great time.
Yeah, exactly, which will be the 13th of October, the next Tuesday after that. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to have Sandy Berger is going to be with us, our consumer electronics expert. Sandy is versed in digital cameras and all really great stuff. She's going to have some interesting topics to talk about, including, aside from Windows 10, there's going to be a lot to talk about. Sandy Berger, again, consumer electronics expert, here tomorrow for both hours on Computer America. That about wraps it up. Again, thanks to Josh Boykin and for doing our gamer correspondent. And Ben and I will see you here, same time, same channel at our new time from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Have a good one, everyone.
You can say
I
goodbye.
want to say have a good night, but
10 seconds.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, again, everybody, thanks for watching us on our live video stream here on Computer America. Again, Josh, thank you so much for being with us here on today's show. See, I only said it once this time. And and we'll see you next month, same time. Okay? All right. All right, bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yep. Thanks.